Welcome to Chakras and Cuss Words, a podcast that dives into self-improvement, completing goals, and overcoming modern-day obstacles. I am your host, Catherine, and together we will address our fears, establish self-awareness, and complete self-growth through honesty and reflection. Remember to please like and share this podcast. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chakras and Cuss Words podcast. And today's podcast, we are talking with my special guest, Nadia, who is a Reiki master. And we are going to talk about how powerful words are and the power that is held within the words, and learning more about how we can use our words to manifest and change our mindset, and also using it to kind of set new intentions when we're moving upon this world. So welcome, Nadia. Introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I am delighted to be with you and your listeners. So as you mentioned, my name is Nadia Mitchell. I'm a certified Reiki master teacher. I'm also a life coach and meditation and mindfulness guide, among a few other titles that I hold. I'm based in New York. I'm also a mother, and I have a background in nonprofit management that I served senior citizens for over 25 years, and then did the shift into wellness and alternative medicine for the last 5 years as of July. So I've always been in the field of helping others, but it's my first time actually not only being a recipient of Reiki energy and wellness, but being able to work with clients and help them on all levels and not just one particular area of service. So it's been really an interesting journey, and I'm so happy to be speaking with you.
Oh, that's so cool. So I would imagine with having all that experience, you probably had to have some really good communication.
Most definitely.
Definitely.
That was everything, especially working with seniors.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Because they're usually the ones who are very stuck in their ways of communication styles and all kinds of stuff like that. So how did you kind of get into the area of using words in your practice or setting intentions with using words?
Such a great question. I mean, it's funny, even before I started doing this line of work, this type of work, I was very familiar with the law of attraction. And I even saw The Secret many, many years ago. But I don't think I applied it to my life immediately. But definitely working more and more with clients and hearing the words that they themselves use and say about themselves definitely triggered something within me, and I guess the light switch went off officially at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially with vibrations and frequencies and working with energy, that's when you really start to realize the importance of your words, and the fact that you continue to attract what it is you most likely are trying to lessen or that you don't want. Whereas if you just do a shift of words and mindset, you can completely turn things around. So that's when I
Yeah.
think it occurred. Yeah.
Yeah.
Working with others.
I know with me when I started really kind of getting tapped into what words I say to myself, it was kind of difficult because sometimes you're really focused on the negative, oh, I did this, or oh, I got to do this, or you kind of already put this negative area around it. But when you start to get more focused on the positive energy with the words, it really kind of opens up your area of your thinking process. So instead of I know a lot of people, I was talking to another podcast guest who was saying a lot of people think it's corny to be oh, I'm grateful I get to go to work. But then, in actuality, it really does help. Yeah. Because there's
No,
times that you're
gratitude.
if I don't want to go to work, but to have the positive, yes, I'm grateful to be at work. When
Yeah.
you start working with people, because I know you said you do the Reiki and stuff, but with the Reiki, do you incorporate communication and words in with it too, as well, when you're doing the energy
No,
work?
what's been coming up lately, especially with my clients, has been words of affirmations. Um, it's been coming up a lot, and improving negative self-talk comes up a lot as well
Mhm.
during Reiki sessions. So we find ourselves talking a lot about that even after the session is over, and through follow-up as well. But it's just super important to be aware that you're seeking change. And once you're aware that you want to change the way how you speak to yourself, it's first and foremost, I mean, self-talk is, should be the number one priority. And
Mhm.
then working on how you speak to others after that. But like a lot of us are so used to being negative with ourselves and not giving ourselves grace, but giving everybody else grace all the time.
Mhm.
A lot of times you don't even realize that it's a problem until somebody else hears what you're saying about yourself and they call you out on it. And you're like, oh, but this is
Mm.
how I always speak to myself. So
Right.
yeah, that's definitely come up a lot with my Reiki clients, and not only coaching, my Reiki clients especially.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What is the part that most people have a problem with the self-talk? Is it they just automatically just kind of like do it like they just don't even know that they're doing it?
Yeah, because it's been their norm for so long, they don't even
Mm,
realize it. Or maybe the environment that they were raised in, or are currently or constantly in, is that way
mhm,
anyway. So they don't see a
mhm.
need to change or even realize that it may not be healthy.
Oh, okay. Okay. So when somebody's like thinking, am I having negative self-talk? So most people don't even realize they're doing it.
No, it's
So
not.
how
And
do
I'm telling you, it's not until they're describing their situation or themselves
uh-huh.
in a conversation with someone else,
Yeah.
or me, that,
Mhm.
like, I'll call them out and I'm like, hey, did you just hear what you said? And they're like, what? And then I'll repeat it
Uh-huh.
and they're like, oh, but I always talk to myself that way. What's wrong with that? But
Yeah.
my whole thing is, if you're negative towards yourself, like, you're the vessel that's making everything move forward. The momentum comes from within you. If you're
Mhm.
already in a negative state and you're already believing that it's not possible for you to achieve whatever it is that you're striving for, then how are you going
Mhm.
to accomplish that?
Yeah. Yeah. So when you like say somebody like tell them, okay, I heard you, and it sounds like a little bit possibly like it could be negative self-talk. How do they usually take that? Do they take it like, oh, I am? Or do they get almost offensive? Or is it like,
It's been a mix, but you'd be surprised a lot of the times they're like, oh, yeah, I know, I'm working
mhm,
on it, or it's
okay.
something that I've been wanting to work on.
What are the steps to kind of getting better self-talk in? Like talking.
First, recognizing that you need to improve.
Okay.
And realizing that the way that you've currently been speaking to yourself has not served you. It hasn't
Mhm,
benefited you. In fact, it's been the complete opposite. So once you see the need, then you'll, make the decision to make a change. And
mhm,
then once you start, it's important to replace any negative thoughts with a positive thought, and kind of retrain your mind, rewire your mind, because it's been this way for however long. It's not going to
mhm.
go away instantly or instantaneously. So it's important to
Right.
just start to, slowly replace. And you can acknowledge the thought, even dig a little deeper and ask yourself, why am I thinking that? Why did that thought
Right.
surface? If you
Right.
choose, but you can really just simply replace any negative thoughts with a positive one, and eventually it will become more natural for your brain and your body to react that way with time. It takes time.
Okay. Um, so a lot well with Reiki, I know you know a lot about the chakras and stuff. So do you think that a lot of it when it's like dealing with the throat chakra, do you think that a lot of it has to do with just because we don't really know how to say truly what it is that we're wanting to say?
Yes and no, but I would say more no, only because my clients that I've come across where the throat chakra will
Mhm.
have the highest sensation, it's either one of two things. Either they speak their mind way too much, like
That's
they're
a big
not
one.
being,
Yeah, that's a
you know
big
what I
one.
mean? Like they're not being thoughtful of the recipient. They're just saying, like, speaking their truth to the fullest, or they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So they instead keep everything in,
Mhm.
and they keep it bottled up, and then it starts to affect them in other ways. Um, so not so much that with the self-talk, it's more what I'm finding with my clients, they're nicer to other people than they are to themselves. They have no
Mhm.
problem telling themselves that they're not this, they're not that, but they'll, when if they have the opportunity to have the same conversation with an external person or external um, person, they're going to be nice. They're going to take it easy on them, whereas they're not gentle with themselves. That's what I've been finding more so with
Uh,
my clientele. You know,
okay. Okay. How do you incorporate the, like, I guess you could say, like, is it positive self-talk? Is it like affirmations? Do you give them like like a list of stuff to do? Like, don't say this, but say this, and don't do that, but do this. Like, how do you get them on the right track?
and it's so ironic because a lot of the times when we eventually start working on self-talk, that's not
Mhm.
what they initially reach out for. So it comes up and comes out later or in other ways. And they may not even realize that it's been a problem until it's been, pointed out. So once they decide that, okay, I have noticed that that's been a trend or a pattern of mine and I'm ready to make change, they could definitely start with the replacement, replacing the
Mhm.
negative thought with the positive as it comes up,
Mhm.
getting into that habit, and also with positive words of affirmations for sure.
Uh,
And I like to customize them according to what's going on in that person's life, versus just, saying just Google it. And you can also personalize it too. You know what I mean? Depending on what's going on, because your areas that you want to improve in, your areas of weakness. You can make it your own. So that's what we
yeah.
usually do.
I like you said, don't just Google it.
Nope.
You'd be like, Google, how do I stop being so negative? Ah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Um, I like the affirmations. Like I try to do affirmations, at least like one affirmation a day. Sometimes it gets kind of hard, to do a lot of affirmations.
Mm.
When clients start making like their own affirmations, what really helps you get them on the right track? Because I personally think that looking at affirmations are great, but when you can have an affirmation centered towards you, what are the main focuses that they should look at when they're writing their affirmations out?
Definitely, I agree. And when it's tailored to you for your specific needs,
Hmm.
even more powerful in my opinion. And even especially when you implement mirror work into that, which is what I always require. Like you have to look at yourself in the mirror as you're saying these words. Um,
Hmm. Oh, so
so
you're going deep.
it's
Look at
usually,
yourself.
saying it as the
You're like, look at
yeah,
yourself when you say this and believe it. God
yep,
damn
the
it.
windows of the soul, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but usually, it's important that they speak as though they already have it, rather than I would love to acquire. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
speak as it's already happened, and you're just like showing gratitude for it. That's usually the direction that we go in. And of course, each individual is different, and a lot of times the affirmations that are personalized are for different areas of life. It's not always the same, but yeah, actually speaking as though it's present, it's already here, it's already happened for you. It helps with your frequency and your vibrational frequency. So it just kind of not only makes you feel positive and feel as though you already have it, but it also continues to help you attract similar things as well.
Hmm. And when you mention like the I guess you could say like you already have it, I kind of call it like storytelling, like you're telling your own story that hasn't necessarily happened yet, but you're already saying exactly what it is that you expect or what it is that you would like to see or what it is that you plan on seeing. And when you talk about that story aspect, can you give me like some areas where you would use that for somebody? Like the storytelling when they put it, the
Mm.
affirmations like it already happened or is
Yeah,
happening.
because it's funny when you were speaking, vision board popped into my mind. I mean,
Mhm.
ultimately, isn't it the same thing? Like we sit down and we kind of plan and say we'd love to see ourselves here in the next year, 5 years,
Right.
and we'd like to have this and that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's super important to also feel the emotions as though you already have it. Like, what will it feel like? And I've learned that that helps it even more. But as far as storytelling, I do find that it's easier said than done. Especially
Right.
if you have been negative towards yourself all this time, right? So if someone
Right.
gives you the assignment of sitting down and writing positive things about yourself when you don't even believe it to begin with, that's difficult. So a lot of times I will definitely provide support in that area. And sometimes they won't even realize that they're not pinpointing exactly what it is they want. They're kind of beating around the bush when it can be direct.
Right.
And the more they say it, they feel it. So I guess that's where the storytelling comes in, but it's usually short and concise.
Hmm.
It's not a paragraph or anything. It's usually just short, quick
Hmm.
sentences that get straight to the point, but trigger something within you and give you that feeling that you need to kind of push forward and start walking in that direction of what it is you're saying you want.
Right. And when like we think about like the words and like the words that we use within ourselves and that we use for ourselves to kind of set these intentions or to make goals or to move forward or to just like have a better day, how can we be mindful like when we speak to other people? Because I think like especially like with children and areas where not only are we the receiver but we're also the sender, how can we kind of be more like conscious with
Yeah.
this? Because I
Yeah.
feel like words are extremely powerful.
They are. They can tear you down or build you up, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's funny. All that comes to mind when you ask that question is just, taking deep breaths and being
Mhm.
mindful,
Yeah.
but definitely centering yourself, that can help, especially if it's if you're in the middle of a stressful or traumatic situation. I
Mhm.
think that some deep breathing can be definitely beneficial, and even pausing before you speak. Sometimes we're too quick to speak. Just
Right.
pausing or saying to the person, "I'll get back to you. I'll tell you
Yeah.
later," or, "I'll give you my response later," and kind of
Right.
pondering and thinking about it and then making your decision and responding when you're in a calmer, state of mind too. I think that
Mhm.
that can be helpful for
Yeah.
sure.
It's definitely hard, like, especially like when tensions are building, or like if you're a parent and you're like frustrated because like you told this kid like over and over, can you do this? Can you do this? And they don't do it, or like something that you've already said and it's like building, and then all of a sudden, you say like a word or something that maybe isn't the most positive, you know,
Encouraging, right?
right, encouraging.
Yeah.
You're like, if
Yeah.
you don't pick this up, I'm going to like, so
Can I tell you a tip that worked for me? Because that used to be me too, right? Because it's
yeah,
frustrating when you've spoken 15 million times and it's still not
right,
done. Like it's like five
right,
days later and I'm still saying the same thing.
yeah,
I don't remember where I found this tip, but it's been awesome. On index cards, you just
hmm,
write a sad face or draw a sad face and you place it wherever the unhappiness lies. And I'm telling
oh,
you, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. I
so
just
you
to
get
simply place it.
index cards and you
Uh-huh.
place them.
The unhappy face, like a sad face. I
Uh-huh.
draw it on like several, of course, not one or two index cards, like a whole pack, right? And you
Yeah,
literally just place it next to that, like that sock that's on the floor, the spilled milk
right,
that's on the counter, and just walk
yes,
away. And I find it to be so much better for me personally because I'm not
hmm,
like my throat doesn't hurt and I'm not stressed as much.
right.
And they see it and they immediately take care of it. And it's less nagging. And I just feel like overall everybody benefits too. So that's
It
what I
is less
implemented a
nagging,
few months
yes.
ago. Yeah.
And I came from a house where I would say it wasn't very conscious how we spoke to each other. Like there was a lot of name calling and kind of, uh, not ideally the best words were used, so it's like as a parent you try to break that cycle, and there's times where it's like you feel yourself dipping back in and you're like, okay, I know there's other words I can use. Hopefully I can find them. But right now I can't. You're like, so if you're a parent, we feel your pain. We've
Yeah.
been there. We've been there.
Seriously.
Don't
It's not easy at
It's
all.
not easy. Yes, it's not easy. And especially like words like with relationships, and trying not to say, stuff that really affects a relationship, because I feel like sometimes people don't understand like with a relationship, like you could say something like really mean, or you could say something like really, you know hurtful at the moment. And while you may have said it that one time and you're like, it's over. I said it. I'm apologized. I'm done with it. But then that other person might be still thinking about that for like years to come.
Yeah, not
So
everyone's good at letting go.
no,
So,
not
yeah.
everyone's good at
Yeah, and
letting go.
sometimes an apology is just not enough. I mean, and
Right.
and it makes you look at the person differently too, because you're like, if they,
Right.
they really feel this way, it's kind of hard to look at them differently after, depending on what they say. So, totally,
Right.
absolutely right. Yeah.
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 So it's like in those situations where we feel that the words we might be saying might not necessarily be beneficial, what are some tips would you give for like those love talks that aren't
You
very
know,
loving?
I know, right? Recently, this came up for one of my clients, and I recommended that she write two different versions of letters. The first one's saying exactly how she really feels, the
Mm.
crass version, and then burning that, and making sure that no eyes will ever see
See it?
what's on that piece of
Right.
paper,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
the second letter, where she can revise it as needed, and just write it in a manner that it will be well received by the recipient based on the recipient. Because
Right.
there are those
Yeah.
people that don't take things seriously, and you can talk to them any which way, and they're like, ah, ha, ha, that's funny,
Whatever.
brush it off their shoulder. Then you have the other people that may be extremely sensitive and may start like crying and never speak to you again. So depending on your
Right.
recipient, rewrite the
Yeah.
letter several times, read it over and say, okay, he or she may take this the wrong way. Let me change that word. Let me take that line out. So that's what she did, and she was able to present it to the recipient, and she still felt heard. And I even recommended that additionally she have him respond via letter as well, because sometimes it's hard to um when you're in front of the person, it's just hard to feel like you really got your words out and that you're really feeling heard, whereas with reading it's a little different, and now they actually have to pause to respond to you via writing as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So she felt lighter. She felt as though a load was lifted off for sure, versus the other way that she tried, where she was trying to do like in-person face-to-face conversations, and she left feeling unheard. So
Right.
that's one thing that comes to mind for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, and that's another thing with the throat chakra is like sometimes we just say it over and over, and if they're not necessarily hearing the message, it's probably not necessarily because our throat chakra is blocked, but theirs might not be receiving
Yes,
communication.
could be wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even with the affirmations, like a lot of times the clients will be like, ah, it's just I feel so fake saying this, like it's not true, but it's
Yeah.
not true yet. It's
Right.
it's part of the process. Just
Yeah.
keep saying it, and it will be even more believable because it's going to be factual if you keep
Right.
going at it. So,
Right. Right. With the what are some of your favorite affirmations? Do you have some that you are like your go-to?
wow. I mean, I'm grateful. There's so many,
Yeah.
in addition to the ones that I created, but ones that I've come across over time. Um, what was it? I am constantly evolving
Mhm.
was another one that I loved. I thought that was so powerful. And like each day is a fresh start.
Mhm.
Each day is a fresh start. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, just words really do have power. And if you sit right, and
Mhm.
figure out what motivates you and create based on that, I think it could just be so powerful, especially if you're looking in the mirror and doing your mirror work while you're saying it.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely if you're looking, and I like that you bring up mirror work with the words. That really must have like a lot because it's almost very reflection based. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's even more. It's like times 10 for sure. That's the
Yeah.
feedback that I've gotten,
Yeah.
versus just saying it to yourself, like while you're facing a wall or you're in bed. Like
Right.
you kind of owe it to yourself. Like you have to, I don't know. It's like you're making a promise to yourself. It's almost like a contract with yourself that, this will
Mhm.
happen, or I'm working towards this. So it's really impactful.
Have you seen any like stories where people have done the self work with the mirror and the self-talk and really bring what was like a negative situation into a positive situation?
Yes, one client comes to mind. It happened very recently. It just got to the point where she started to catch herself saying negative things, which was a big thing. Like before she
Right.
wasn't even aware. Like she would
Mhm.
actually cut herself off while speaking to me and saying, "You know what? I shouldn't have said that. Let me reword it."
Mhm.
But her affirmations definitely helped. And I remember at first she had difficulty remembering to even do them, and she
Mm.
felt like it wasn't real. Like, why is she saying it? But
Mhm.
eventually it started to become, I won't say a habit, but it became natural for her. And she started
Right.
to think those thoughts naturally anyway. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I definitely, one person comes to mind immediately. And it was a short amount of time, but she was able to kind of turn things around and definitely get that mindset shift uh, in place.
Oh, that's great. That's great. What what are some of the main tips you would give somebody who's like, okay, I got to get my self-talk. I got to get the self-talk done. I got to get it better. I got to get the self-talk in the right direction. What are like three main tips to give them?
Say assess if you even have an issue in that area.
Mm.
Take a moment to observe your thoughts maybe
Mhm.
for a day or two, and decide if it served you. If it hasn't, if it hasn't been
Mhm.
serving thus far, then
Right.
make a decision to change,
Uh-huh.
and then lastly implement the changes needed and take it slow. And if you should, go back or retract, or find yourself saying all the other things you used to say before, just know that it's natural and it's going to take time, just like it took time for you to form that behavior or form that pattern. It's going to take time um, for you to initiate this new pattern,
Yeah.
this new behavior. So those are the three tips that come to mind.
Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. So, how have you implemented this in your everyday life?
Wow. I mean, affirmations for sure. I've definitely upped
Mhm.
my game in that area, especially over the last few months. And it's been helpful, especially when it's tailored and it's not like
Mhm.
generalized. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
not just found online, it's actually for you. So it's depending on whatever it is you're going through in your life in that moment that you need some
Mhm.
empowerment for or around. So I've been definitely doing my affirmations daily, and not always mirror work, not always in the mirror, but definitely I have improved and increased the amount of words that I say, and even at nighttime I've been implementing it in addition to giving myself Reiki.
Oh, nice. So, take this is a question that I sometimes ask on my show. Um, take us on a little day on the life of Nadia, the Reiki master.
You don't want to know.
I don't want
It's
to know.
crazy.
Yes, girl, we want to know. Let us
It's
know what
bananas. I
is.
have three children. My youngest is 2. I have a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old. So, yeah. Okay. Wake up around 6:45. Head to the bus stop for 7:30. I usually try to get some work in from 7:30 to 8, but not always
Not always.
realistic. And I also try to remember to eat and, like
Mm.
maybe make a cup of tea. My little one usually wakes up around 8 a.m., sometimes about 7:45. So you see that's like 15 minutes
Yeah.
after, like between the time I went to the bus stop and came back. So not a lot of time.
Right.
And then wow, like morning routine. Oh wait, no. Then I bring my other one to school, my other daughter to school for 8:55, 9:05. Um, and we then start our morning routine. I'm trying to keep track. And depending with the weather and stuff, like I try to engage my toddler and um wow, it's mostly the toddler, like, it's all about my toddler up
Mhm.
until, like, nap time, and then, like, I'll try to get a call in, or sometimes he's on Zoom calls with me and meetings with me,
That's
and then
sweet.
I'll do, some intakes or consults,
Yeah.
kinda keep it simple, and then, later in the afternoon, when I'm able to, when my husband's watching the kids and, like, after we picked up everybody from school and from the bus stop, then I start to see my clients. And each day
Mhm.
I have I have my coaching days, I have my Reiki days, and then I have my meditation classes as well. So it depends on the day, but for the most
Yeah.
part, everything is kind of light in the mornings and like family
And then
oriented. And then in
busy.
the evenings, it's like, yeah, it's like I'm on Clubhouse. I'm, teaching. I do virtual classes as well for organizations. So the
Oh,
evenings are
nice.
when I'm most busy, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
don't get any sleep at night.
And then what words do you say to get you through that day?
Ah, ah, nothing that I can say on here comes to mind. I'm fine.
It is called chakras and cuss words for a reason, right?
Right, I know, right? I just honestly, I listen to a lot of music. Music, it shifts my attitude so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's been awesome. And Reiki at night too, before I fall asleep. It helps me a lot.
Right.
Um, yeah, I'm saying a lot, but no words come to mind. I don't think I say any words during the day. When I start
Mm-hmm.
my day, that's different, and when I end it, but not throughout the day.
Not
I
throughout
don't
the
have
day.
time for that.
No.
Yeah, I don't usually have time for that.
I have
Yeah.
a friend who she has that app, like that affirmation app, and she says that she gets like messages, like little affirmations, and she's like, I don't know, I feel like the app is psychic. It knows everything because like I'll look and it'll be like, breathe, girl, breathe. And she's like, I'm
I
breathing,
need to know
I'm
what app that
breathing.
is.
Yeah.
I
It's
need to know which app she's using because when I downloaded, I quickly deleted because it
oh
was so
no.
annoying. It was
Oh
annoying. The
wow.
timing of it. And I know you can schedule it, but I was just like,
Yeah.
ugh, this again. And it
Yeah,
didn't
this
apply to me in
again,
any
this
way.
again,
So
reminding me
yeah.
to be my higher self. Ugh.
Yeah, not in this moment. Not in
Not
this
this
moment. And terrible twos too, where when they don't get their
girl.
way, they're on the floor. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
very hard. It's hard to juggle and balance. I speak a lot in a lot of mompreneur groups on Clubhouse often because
Hmm.
it's not easy
Yeah.
juggling and being available to everyone. And
Right.
that's where self-care is another big topic that I'm always speaking on and very
Yeah.
passionate about, especially the beginning of this year for sure. Like,
Hmm.
we're just giving, and you rarely give to yourself. It has to be like a special occasion for you to think of yourself or receive something from someone. So
Right.
um
Yeah.
you're always on the go. It's important to really stop, pause, and make sure
Hmm.
that you're doing at least one thing for yourself daily.
Oh, that's I need to think. Yeah, that's why I'm like, yes, one thing daily. One like
One
if it's
thing.
like positive affirmations, if
Yeah.
it's
An ebook at the end of the night.
ebook.
Ebooks
Yeah.
have helped me tremendously because I had stacks of books that were never going to get read. And even on, the ebook versions, like I started to download books that have audio and just put my AirPods in while
Hmm.
I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing. And I'm still feeling like I'm doing something for me, even though
Right.
I'm doing other things.
Right.
So
Yeah.
whatever works best for that person is what they should do because it's not going to look the same for you as it does for someone else. Because self-care to someone else may be a weekend retreat, in
Right.
Maui versus just reading an ebook, maybe everything to someone else. So, I find that a lot of people are comparing and trying to like, do the spas and get massages
Mhm.
regularly as a form of self-care, not realizing that self-talk in itself is a form of self-care, right? So you can always
Right.
begin there. That's free. Begin
Right.
there and, add to your list, but you got to put yourself on your to-do list. And that's
Oh,
something that a lot
definitely.
of us don't do.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, this was a great conversation. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast and let us know how can we reach you if we
Thank you.
need more suggestions on coaching and self-talk and Reiki. How can we find you?
Of course. My website is www.reikiwithnadia.com. I'm also on Instagram under the handle Reiki W Nadia, and I'm also on Facebook with Reiki with Nadia. So several ways to get in touch with me.
Like it. Keeping it right, keeping it
Yeah.
standard. Reiki and Nadia. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Please comment, like, and subscribe to this podcast. And as always, give it some ratings, and everything you need to know will be in the show notes. So, thank you, everybody, for listening and have a great day. Bye.